Today we're reviewing a 2014 Subaru BRZ at Laguna Seca, owned by Aris, and this one is actually set up for 8.6 Challenge stock class. So he's maxed out the camber, which is 2.5 degrees front and rear for stock class with the 8.6 Challenge. We have Bilstein dampers, but OEM springs. We do have V730 tires, which is definitely not stock class, but other than that, the rest of the setup is for stock class. AP Racing big brake kit and an oil cooler, also a shifter bushing. It feels good to be back behind the wheel of a first-gen twin because I actually owned a 2013 Scion FRS for 9.5 years. I owned the second-gen GR86 for 2 years. And this is how I learned autocross, my first ever track days. It was all in my Scion FRS. And these are such incredible learning tools. They are very approachable. And we're going to see how this particular example is set up. We have electric power steering, a 6-speed manual, super low center of gravity with a flat 4 F820 engine. The engine is not really the highlight of this car, it's more the chassis and the way that this car communicates with you. First lap, just a couple corners in, already experiencing the limits of this car. The car does have lower, more approachable limits, and here at turn 6, ooh, right there, it gets so heavy, the power steering completely cuts out. I'm a bit unnerved, like, wait, what just happened? Now, this is a known issue with these cars. These cars are known to have these power steering issues where it cuts in and cuts out. I'd actually never had that, though, in my first-gen FRS or my second-gen GR86. But it does tend to be a problem with these first-gen examples. And as a result, you're already going to be getting a lot more dynamic weighting and load up as you're really compressing and asking a lot of the front end and that turn 6 compression. And then when the power steering cuts, it's even more exaggerated and emphasized, which is at first unnerving, but then it becomes amusing and kind of fun actually because you can feel so much. When it comes to electric power steering, this already is one of the most impressive racks, for modern E-Pass. It's definitely up there with 991 Porsches and even like the GT3. It is really a phenomenal E-Pass on this cheap little Toyota or Subaru that you get. And we're in high intermediate right now, but we are giving a lot of point buys because even in high intermediate, we are definitely a slower car. You have to be patient with the front end. You do have strut suspension, not a lot of camber. Giving some point buys to the gentleman behind. That's going to be a pattern. We're going to lift now, turn in late, miss the apex. Make some more room for these other cars. That is the reality of driving a car that only has 200 horsepower and weighs 2,700 pounds. Your power to weight ratio is not ideal, and these cars may be slightly overrated from factory. The second gen is actually slightly underrated. The second gen has a very nice balanced feel in terms of the power to weight, extra 40 horsepower versus the first gen, and it is very, very much needed, and it feels much more balanced. The issue though with the second gen is that even though the chassis rigidity is up, the power is better, shifting across gates with the manual transmission is also nicer. You don't have anywhere close to as good of steering, and also the throttle response is not nearly as linear and natural. Should also say though that this car is not really going to shine at a track like Laguna because Laguna does tend to have more straights. It's not nearly as technical as some other tracks in the area like Sonoma or Thunder Hill. Braking here into turn 11, very much appreciating the feel of and the stopping power of this AP Racing big brake kit. You have not only a lot of stopping power but also a lot of modulation. Feels really good. Now, first lap in the car, of course, with quite a bit of traffic and point buys, a 158. We can go 10 seconds faster than that. We're going to keep chipping away. Now, between this and a Mazda Miata, for those who don't know, I own an ND3 Miata. This car is actually quite a bit easier to drive. You have, I missed the apex there. Again, you have to really be mindful of the front end grip on these cars, unlike on a Miata, which has double wishbone. So the reason these cars are more easy to drive and better learning tools, I would argue, for beginners versus a Miata is that they have that longer wheelbase. They're also just set up from factory with more of a progression as it gives way to oversteer, whereas the Miata, you need to have quicker hands. I think there are advantages to the Miata over this. You have better suspension architecture in the front. Ooh, right there again. The steering gets super heavy. Barely accelerating up here towards the corkscrew. That little 200 horsepower flat 4, 2-liter engine, really working hard. And here again, you can feel at turn 9, power steering cuts out again. But surprisingly not at turn 10, even though you do have a lot of compression there. Very easy to heel toe. The inputs are so good on this first gen. The transmission, even with this upgraded bushing, it still has this very light and notchy and not very slick feel. It's still very easy to use, and I have no issue driving it at speed. It's more that when you're puttering around town, you can feel that it's not quite as enjoyable to use, but when you're really hustling the car and shifting quicker, it doesn't feel bad by any means. It feels totally fine, but just not as slick and pleasant to use as something like a more recent Miata. That last lap was a 1:53, so we cut off 5 seconds. We're going to keep shaving off time here lap after lap as we get more comfortable with the car, understanding the brake points and such with this vehicle. And we're out here with Lightspeed track events. Use code Jubbal for your next Lightspeed event for a special discount. Can definitely carry quite a bit more speed there. Turn 6. Correction there, turn 9, same thing into turn 10. You can see that we're getting more comfortable, starting to play with a bit more slip angle, corner after corner. Again, such good inputs here. The heel toe, there's no learning curve, and that's one thing I really miss about the first gen. I feel like it had better inputs than the second gen, and it was also more raw than the second gen. We did a 152.01 right there. And the nice thing about 8.6 Challenge as well is that you can really hone your skill as a driver with some time attack, time trials, and compete with others in your same category. They even actually have handicaps to put the first and second gen vehicles on the same level playing field. So it improves the competitive base because you're now competing with more people, and it still feels fairly fair from what I've heard from the owner Eris. And a lot of people like to rag on these cars because they just don't have the same level of performance as other vehicles. You don't have as much power, lap time, and so on and so forth. But that's not what these cars are about. They're very much about the joy, the balance, the progression as a driver. And that's why I still have a soft spot for these cars, even though I moved on from them. I learned so much about driving. You guys can watch some of my earlier track videos with my FRS. My first ever Laguna Seca video where I do a breakdown with Mike Kang, and to then my later FRS track days to my GR86 track days, and you'll see a progression, and I think it's because this vehicle is such a good learning tool. Actually, a significantly slower lap of a 152.19. There is certainly a lot more time to be had in this car. This car could be doing, you know, mid to high 140s. Also depends on the temperature and things like that. This is currently later in the day. It's quite hot, greasy conditions. So just from track conditions alone, we're losing a couple seconds. But even still, just building more comfort and pushing the car harder, this could still easily be hitting 47s in current conditions. There it goes again, super heavy. And for those who are wondering, between the twins, first gen, second gen, NC Miata, and D Miata, I think all four cars are really excellent. They're lightweight, front engine, rear wheel drive, 6-speed manual transmission, really good fundamentals. I do think that the input quality of the first gen is better than the second gen. The power level of the second gen will leave you a lot less frustrated. You won't really feel like you're being held behind as much by the power. Oh, getting a bit more slip angle there, turn 10. And they're really excellent. I think that I was very fortunate to start with this car because I think it is one of the best learning tools. But any of those four cars I mentioned would be excellent. They just have different strengths and weaknesses, and can be slightly more or less beginner friendly depending on how much you value progressiveness with oversteer and input quality. I think the NC steering and the first gen FRS steering are quite excellent. The ND1, ND2 steering is very numb. The ND3 steering is actually also quite excellent. The transmission in the Miatas, I would argue, is better across the board. The input quality in the Miatas is also better, although the first gen FRS and BRZ I would say has better input quality than the second gen.
All right, man. I didn't realize the power steering is gonna cut out. The first turn, I was like, "What the fuck is going on?"
The first turn.
Well, maybe it wasn't turn 2. Maybe it was like.
Okay. It's been cutting out on like 9 or something. I think.
Also on 6.
On 6?
6 every time.
Oh shit!
Oh, I think the first time it happened was on 5, and I was like, "What the fuck is going on?"
I hope it's not getting worse. Oh my god.
I've heard that's an issue on these cars. But I mean, in my FRS that I owned for 9.5 years, and my GR86 that I owned for almost 2 years, I never had any issue with power steering cutting in and out. But now today I've experienced it. It is a little bit unnerving. It's a fun car, man. These things they're pretty easy to drive. They're very like progressive. They're very forgiving.
Yeah.
Normally the steering is very communicative, and it still is, but like again with the.
It's a little bit of a shocker mid-corner.
Yeah, then you lose some of that that communication and that resolution. So not as confidence inspiring on that front because the steering is inconsistent. It cuts in and out. Yeah. All of a sudden it gets heavy. All of a sudden it's lighter. But
you know, I've been driving around long enough that I forget that it does that now.
That's nuts.
I should have mentioned it.
You can get used to that.
Yeah. Man, I got to figure out how to fix that then. Fuck.
Well, maybe if it doesn't bother you, maybe it's not a big deal. To me, I found it harder to tell what the steering is telling me. Mm-hmm. And also the clutch. I guess the clutch engagement on these cars has always been a little bit wonky. Mm-hmm. But I've actually found it harder to shift smoother in these cars. I guess I haven't driven one in a while. But yeah, man. I mean, you know what? I mean, like the front end tends to push a little bit if you ask too much because of that McPherson strut. How much camber are you running?
2.5 in the front.
And is that with camber bolts or just?
So they have the offset mounts and the camber bolts.
Okay, and is that like maxed out?
No. Well, 2.5 is the most you're allowed to run in the class.
Oh, that's why.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it does push a bit. I guess it does allow a bit of maybe with this updated ABS module, you can get a little bit of rotational braking, but still not as much as I would like. You have to really play with the weight transfer and really, you know, to get it out. But I mean, these are great cars, man. There's a reason why I kept mine for so long.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty good.
What model year is this?
It's a 2014.
Nice, nice.
I basically bought it because I was like, you know, if I feel like track cars get beat up, maybe eventually totaled. I'd rather just buy something that I'm ready to just dump away if, you know, if it goes wrong or something. So,
I respect that. I respect that, man.
yeah.
Sick, dude. Well, thanks for the opportunity.